If you could step outside yourself and watch how you move through your morning, would you be proud of what you see? Would you recognize the man you want to become? Or would you see a stranger drifting through habit, reacting instead of leading, surviving instead of building? The morning is where you write the first lines of your life's daily story. It's not just another routine. It's your scoreboard, your real philosophy made visible. See, talk is cheap before 8 a.m. The truth comes out in how you start. If you wake up with discipline, intention, and clarity, you'll feel the momentum before breakfast. If you start with snooze, distraction, and drift, the whole day follows suit. And I say this as someone who has lived both sides. And there was a time in my life when my mornings were a mirror of my mediocrity. I'd wake up with no plan, let the world set my tone, and end the day wondering why I was still stuck at average. I thought maybe success belonged to the lucky or the naturally talented. But I came to understand average is not an accident. It's installed by the small routines you tolerate day after day until mediocrity becomes your identity. Your morning, especially before 8 a.m., is the sharpest dividing line between drifting and designing, between regret and reward. So let me ask you, when you watch your own mornings, are you a builder or a bystander? Are you investing in your future or just inheriting another day from your past? The man who acts like time is cheap finds his days slipping away, unnoticed. The man who treats the first hour as sacred, who builds, reflects, and decides before the world gets noisy, becomes unrecognizable, even to his old self. He starts to rise above the crowd, and the difference becomes unmistakable. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything. But if you keep waking up like yesterday, you'll keep living like yesterday. The cost of an average morning isn't just lost time. It's a lost identity. That feeling you carry in your gut, that hunger for something more, is your signal that you're ready to change your scoreboard. You're ready to draw a new line before 8 a.m. and make it the foundation of a new life. Philosophically, your morning is your most honest moment. It shows what you believe, not just what you say. Are you ready to challenge yourself? Are you ready to set a new standard and separate from the crowd? Not because it sounds good, but because you're tired of living beneath your potential? Then let's get to the law that divides the average from the exceptional, the secret that builds your reputation long before the sun is high. Let's uncover the early divide and why it matters more than anything you'll do for the rest of the day. There's a law at work every morning, whether you recognize it or not. I call it the law of the early divide. It's simple and unforgiving. Those who master their mornings end up leading the rest, while those who drift through the first hours inevitably drift through the years. You see, before 8 a.m., there are two kinds of people: the ones who make decisions and the ones who dodge them, the ones who act with purpose and the ones who react to whatever is handed to them. The line is drawn not by talent, not by luck, but by the disciplines you choose or refuse when the world is still quiet. Let's get practical. You might think the first few hours are just a warm-up, that you can be casual at sunrise and serious at noon, but the reality is, the morning is where you rehearse the habits that either build your future or cement your past. If you start in drift, with scattered thoughts and no direction, you end up spending your day putting out fires, feeling behind, and doubting yourself before lunch. But if you begin by stacking 3 simple disciplines before 8 a.m., you create a foundation that makes you almost unrecognizable by the end of the month. Confidence, energy, and clarity don't come from nowhere. They're earned in those first quiet hours. Here's what I've found. Average is not a failure of willpower. It's the result of failing to respect the early divide. The most successful men I've known, whether they were building businesses, building families, or building themselves, treated the early morning as sacred. It was their advantage, their edge. They didn't rely on motivation or mood. They installed habits. They didn't wait for the world to give them direction. They gave it to themselves every single day before the world had a chance to distract them. Think about what 3 strong disciplines do for you before 8 a.m. First, they give you a sense of identity. You become the kind of man who keeps his word to himself before anyone else is watching. Second, they build energy. Instead of waking up in a fog, you light a fire that lasts all day. And third, they create confidence. Not the kind you fake, but the kind you build brick by proving to yourself that you're no longer living at the level of average. But let's not get it twisted. This law doesn't require perfection. It doesn't demand you be a morning person by nature. What it demands is that you choose, that you step out of the crowd and install a standard while most are still asleep, so you can live a life most will only ever imagine. That's the early divide, and it's drawn every single day. Let's move deeper. Let's clear up the myths that keep most people stuck on the wrong side of this line. Because until you see through the excuses, you'll keep believing the story that average is inevitable or that discipline is just for the lucky few. Let's shine the light on the truth and give you the permission you need to cross over, starting tomorrow morning. Let's get honest about the myths that keep most people locked in average, especially when it comes to mornings. Excuses are sneaky. They dress up as truth, but really they're just a way to avoid discomfort and stay exactly where you are. And nowhere are these myths stronger than before 8 a.m. The first myth is the old favorite. I'm not a morning person. I've heard this from men and women all over the world, but let me tell you, nobody is born a morning person. It's not a genetic lottery. It's a discipline, a choice you make, then prove day after day until the new rhythm feels natural. I wasn't born for early mornings either, but the day I decided to stop making excuses and start making habits, everything changed. You don't need to wake up with a smile. You just need to wake up on purpose. Here's the second myth. It's in my DNA. My family isn't built for discipline. That's a story, nothing more. I've seen people change decades of family history by installing one strong morning ritual. I've watched young men and women whose parents slept late and blamed circumstance rise before dawn, claim their discipline, and build a new legacy. You are not the victim of your history. You're the architect of your future. Third myth, success is about talent. This is a favorite for those who want to avoid the work of discipline. Let me say it plain. Talent gives you an edge, but discipline gives you the mountain. The talented man who drifts in the morning will be outrun by the ordinary man who masters his sunrise. If you want to stay average, keep waiting for talent to bail you out. If you want to rise above, stack discipline on discipline until the world has to take notice. These myths aren't just lies, they're comfort blankets. They give you a reason to stay stuck. But when you trade your excuses for effort, you trade average for progress. When you stop arguing for your limitations, you start fighting for your possibilities. Here's the permission you might have been waiting for. You don't have to believe the old stories. You can become a man of discipline starting with the next sunrise. You can build a new standard, not by willpower alone, but by systems and habits that make greatness possible. Even when you don't feel like it. Guilt about wasted mornings is wasted energy. What matters is what you do next. Now let me show you what happened in my own life. The day I got serious about mornings, the day I crossed over the early divide and left average behind. It wasn't pretty and it wasn't easy, but it was the beginning of a whole new identity. Let's go there. There was a time in my life when I was drifting. I thought I was working hard, but I was really just busy. I woke up each morning at the last possible minute, let the alarm decide for me, and rushed into my day already behind. I'd make promises to myself. Tomorrow I'll get up early. Tomorrow I'll start with discipline. But tomorrow never came because I hadn't installed any habits. I was an average man living an average morning, and I was ashamed to admit it. One day, after a night of frustration and disappointment, I decided I'd had enough. I was tired of being average. I wanted to see if I could build a new identity by mastering the first hour of my day. It wasn't glamorous. I didn't join any club or buy any new gear. I just picked 3 simple things I would do before 8 a.m., no matter how I felt. I would feed my mind with something wise, move my body, even if just for a few minutes, and write down 3 priorities that mattered for the day ahead. The first week was rough. My old routines fought back. I wanted to quit. I was groggy and tempted by every excuse. But every morning I kept my word. A new piece of self-respect was born. I began to notice something. I didn't just feel better. I acted better. My conversations were sharper. My energy lasted longer. I was more patient, more intentional, more proud of the man I saw in the mirror. The struggle to start gave way to the satisfaction of building. After a month, my results were unmistakable. I was no longer drifting through my days. People noticed. My work improved. My mood improved. And even my relationships deepened because I was now a man who showed up early for his own life. The biggest change wasn't external, though. It was internal. I no longer saw myself as average. I'd crossed a line, and I knew I wasn't going back. The lesson is simple. The first hour you master becomes your reputation, with yourself first, and then with the world. You become what you repeatedly do, especially when no one is watching. Mastering my mornings didn't just give me better days, it gave me a better self. I started believing in my own standards, and when you do that, everything else in your life starts to rise to meet you. Now let me share the exact 3 non-negotiables I practiced before 8 a.m., the very habits that separated me from the crowd and gave me a foundation for every breakthrough that followed. These aren't fancy, but they are powerful. If you want to change your life, start here. Let's break them down one by one. If you want to stop living an average life, you have to stop starting your day like the average man. That's the dividing line. The good news is, you don't need a complicated formula. Just 3 disciplines done before 8 a.m. will do more to change your reputation, your energy, and your results than a year of chasing hacks and shortcuts. I call these the 3 before 8 a.m., your new standard for the man you want to become. 1. Build the mind, feed before you consume. Start every morning by feeding your mind with principle before you let the noise of the world in. Before you check your phone, open your inbox, or flip on the news, invest 10 minutes, just 10, reading something that builds your philosophy or sharpens your purpose. Pick up a book that challenges you, revisit your goals, or reflect in a journal. The average man lets the world set his mood before he's even vertical. The exceptional man sharpens his axe before he chops a single piece of wood. When you feed your mind before you consume, you step into your day with intention. You have a compass, not a weather vane. Think of it like this. If you fill your cup with wisdom before you fill it with worry, you give yourself an edge that nobody can take. You're no longer reacting to what others say or think. You're rehearsing your own beliefs, your own vision. That's what separates a builder from a drifter. The first words you read, the first thoughts you think, will echo through every meeting, every challenge, every conversation. So build your mind before you let the world chip away at it. 2. Move the body. Create energy before you spend it. You cannot think your way into energy. You have to create it. The average man wakes up stiff, sluggish, and resigned to whatever the day hands him. But energy is not a lottery prize. It's a well you have to prime. Before 8 a.m., move your body. You don't need an hour at the gym. 5 or 10 minutes of stretching, walking, or simple exercise sends a message to your mind and your spirit. I lead. I'm awake. I'm in charge. Physical movement does more than wake you up. It aligns your mind and body for the challenges ahead. I've watched men transform from sluggish to sharp, not by thinking about greatness, but by moving with purpose before breakfast. It's like priming the pump before you draw from the well. The best ideas, the clearest focus, the most resilient mood, they all flow from a body in motion. If you start every day with movement, you make it nearly impossible to stay stuck at average. 3. Name your mission. Set 3 targets before the world competes for you. This is the habit that separates wishers from builders. Before the world has a chance to bombard you with distractions, sit down and write out your 3 top priorities for the day. Not a long to-do list, not a handful of vague wishes, 3 clear targets that matter. It could be a call you've been avoiding, a project that moves your mission forward, or a conversation you need to have. Whatever it is, you chart the course before the storm. Think of your day like a ship at sea. Without a course, even the best captain gets tossed by every wave. But if you set your direction before breakfast, you don't just react, you command. The average man lets other people write his agenda. The disciplined man writes his own and protects it until the mission is done. And here's the secret. When you keep your list short and focused, you give yourself the gift of completion. Every finished priority is a vote for your new identity. A builder, a finisher. A leader who knows what matters. Over time, these daily wins add up, not just in your work, but in your confidence, your energy, and your self-respect. Stack the 3, change your reputation. If you build your mind, move your body, and name your mission every morning before 8 a.m., you will become a man who is impossible to ignore, by the world, and more importantly, by yourself. You will see a difference in your clarity, your posture, your pace. It won't take long before people around you start to ask what changed. But the answer is simple. You changed how you began. Try these 3 for 30 days. Track your mornings, reflect on your progress, and watch as your self-respect and results explode. And if you miss a day, don't make it a pattern. Start again the next sunrise. You are not just building a routine, you are building a new standard, one sunrise at a time. Now let's make this a practice, not just a principle. Let's set your 30-day early standard so you can cross the early divide and never look back. Here's how you make it real. Let's make this more than a lesson. Let's make it your new identity. For the next 30 days, I want you to commit to the 3 before 8 a.m. Not for me, not for the world, but for the man you meet in the mirror every morning. This is your early standard. For 1 month, let nothing, no excuse, no schedule, no old story, rob you of these 3 disciplines. Write it down, post it somewhere you'll see it, and read it every night before bed. I will build my mind, move my body, and name my mission before the world even wakes up. Each morning, check these off as you complete them. Journal a single line about how you felt. More focused, more alive, proud, challenged. By week 2, you'll notice you're waking with more purpose, even before your feet hit the floor. By week 3, you'll start seeing the ripple effect. More clarity in your work, less stress as the day unfolds, and a new sense of command over your decisions. By the end of 30 days, you won't need anyone to convince you. Your results will tell the story. If you stumble, if you miss a morning, don't quit. Don't let one-off day become an old pattern. Start again. Every time you recommit, you prove to yourself that you're no longer satisfied with average. That's the real value of discipline. It isn't perfection, it's persistence. It's the quiet decision to show up for your own life every day, no matter what yesterday looked like. Ask yourself every evening, what new story am I writing by breakfast? Every morning is a blank page. Every discipline is a new sentence in the autobiography of the man you're becoming. Will you be proud to read it 5 years from now? Will your children, your friends, your future self see the evidence of a man who set his standard before the world handed him a script? Your 30-day early standard is your invitation to break from the average, to outgrow old excuses, to let the sunrise find you already building. Discipline is not a prison, it's a passport. It gives you access to energy, opportunity, and self-respect that no one can take away. And it's earned quietly before 8 a.m. when the world is still asleep. Now let's finish strong, because the truth is, the average man waits for results he never earned. The disciplined man wakes up and builds the bridge to every outcome he desires. Don't beg for the life you want, build it before breakfast. Let's close with the final charge. Let me leave you with the principle that separates the men who dream from the men who do. Don't beg for results you didn't build. Life doesn't hand out rewards to the wishful, to those who coast through the early hours, hoping fortune will land on their lap. If you plant corn, don't expect roses. If you plant drift and distraction before 8 a.m., don't expect discipline and achievement by sundown. The universe is honest, more honest than we often are with ourselves. It rewards the man who shows up before the world calls his name, the one who quietly lays brick after brick, morning after morning, while everyone else is still waiting for a sign. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. It's the hidden architecture behind every visible success. The good news? You don't need to start with willpower. You need to start with a standard. One decision made before 8 a.m. will echo through your entire day, your entire year, and eventually your legacy. You get to choose. Stay average or rise before the world does. You are not waiting for a new opportunity. You are building the skills, the mindset, and the confidence to seize it the moment it appears. Here's my challenge to you. Don't just watch this video. Install the code. Drop this in the comments to make it real. My standard is set before 8 a.m. Let that be your public declaration, your private commitment. And tomorrow, when your alarm rings, remember that you are casting a vote for the man you want to be, not by what you hope, but by what you do. You were not meant for an average life. You were meant for a disciplined one, a life that reflects your values, your effort, and your willingness to pay the price in private before the world sees the results in public. Don't beg for a future you never built. Build it. The blueprint is simple. Feed your mind. Move your body. Name your mission. Do it before 8 a.m. and watch as every result you desire begins to find its way to you. Meet me on the other side of the sunrise. That's where discipline becomes destiny.